And welcome back to GFF and Friends, the podcast for Island Boys.
Ooh.
That's all I could think of.
Well, that sounds fancy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Gay Fat Friend, a.k.a. Todd. And joining me, as always, is my teeny tiny, adorable, hilarious, stinky little husband, Rob.
What? Okay, seriously. I don't... It's...
Hi.
Hi.
I took you on a journey.
Yes.
So it's all about peaks and valleys, highs and lows.
Oh, we're applying judges' critiques from Drag Race.
Correct. It's like a open-faced compliment sandwich.
Got it. Open-faced compliment sandwich.
How's it going?
Doing okay, you know? Feeling accomplished kind of today.
January is finally the F over.
Oh my
Longest
God.
year of my life.
Right? Oh, Lemon, it's only February.
And it's funny because like February is your birth month, so it's an exciting time.
Sure.
Also, I've always loved February because Valentine's Day is fun, but also that means the most annoying month of the year, which is January, is done.
Yeah,
we did it. It's over. I hate January.
And it's a bummer that February is so short, but I guess it makes you appreciate it all the more. Hey, right? But it makes you appreciate it all the more while it's here.
Yeah. But it almost feels like a psychological condition. I know January was the worst month that we've had in a very long time. But like everyone was talking about how long it felt. Like it just felt so long.
Well, every day just brought new fresh hell. And so, in this month, especially like I'm prepared to personally spend more time kind of celebrating and learning more about Black culture and like for Black History Month.
Right.
Like I'm going to go out of my way to do it myself this year just because I feel like a lot of things that I sort of grew up kind of taking for granted as being just kind of part of the common cultural, zeitgeist and discussion for the month is not a given necessarily anymore. Yeah. So, going to have some intentional observance.
Same
for myself this year.
I want to read more books from Black authors. I want to, consume more Black content.
Yeah.
Especially Black and trans. Like, I've already watched Paris is Burning. I usually watch that once a month anyway, but maybe this month I'll watch it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. No, it's like definitely, and it's funny because I feel like that's just a movie that's like so in your bones. It's just like I can't not think of you.
It is one of my ultimate comfort movies. I think about it all the time.
So, no, and I guess just getting out of the way, not to get political or anything, but just given current events, there's no LGB without the T.
Correct.
We stand with you, and we love you. We see you.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Like
this is insane.
Making up fights where no fights existed. Making up bullshit where no bullshit existed. Like, we are LGBT. That's literally never going to change.
Yeah.
And you can, like Jinx Monsoon said, it was really great advice. Everything was illegal once. Everything was against the law once. And we were still here. And we're still here today. And we're going to still being here, from now on. So no matter what they fucking do on paper and no matter what they do to us in the government and stuff like that, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We still exist.
And if
you can't unexist people.
And if we stop suddenly podcasting without announcing it, that's not our choice.
Yeah. But also it means I'm probably no longer breathing because I am going out fighting.
So, yeah.
I'm taking some eyeballs with me and some teeth. Like, if I'm going, everybody's going.
Anywho.
To undarken the episode,
sorry. I was trying to keep it, at least like fairly positive, but like
Rob's nature is to be Eeyore, so it's always easy to fall into that.
Well, and it's been easy to just sort of like look at everything and just be like, oh well, hell,
I know.
what now?
It's like improv. Life is like improv. It's always easy to fight. It's always easy to be negative. You just gotta yes and yourself out of it.
And we gotta make this all about Dad.
Exactly. I want to tell that story.
You should, because
it's funny.
I wish I had been there for it. Like, and I'm glad at least that I can kind of keep the story alive between us.
Well, and we quote it
frequently,
weekly at least.
Frequently, yeah.
So back in LA, I took improv classes at the Groundlings, and in my beginner class, my very first class, my basic class. Anybody can take classes at Groundlings. Okay, it's not like college, like you apply, but everyone that applies gets in. There's no, especially to basic, the first level. Every single person that wants to take that class,
if your check clears,
yeah, everybody that wants to take that class can take that class. So I'm in basic, and there was this one guy in there who just God bless him. There was just nothing behind the eyes, you know, just did not get it. I don't know why he was there. He said he was there to like loosen up and be better around people. I think he was on the spectrum, probably.
It's like, it's not a bad way to sort of like, learn like
kudos to him.
Well, it's like a rigid game if you want to learn a social skill, kind of, you know. It's an interesting kind of way to play it.
But he was just terrible at improv and just did not get it, and also terrible at acting, like just didn't have any of it in his bones. But like kudos to him for taking an improv class to be a better person in society.
Seriously, it's funny. I don't know if I could even do it. Like, and I want to say I would excel. I think I'd be fine. But I don't think I could do it. I don't have that muscle in me to be able to do one of those classes.
But like he got to the point where the teacher and everyone in the class started getting really frustrated with him because he was so bad and because he didn't do anything right. And like, even though he wasn't really there to like start an improv career and be on SNL one day, he was still in the class. Like he still needed to take it a little bit seriously, and he wasn't taking any of it seriously and like listening and paying attention and doing the homework. So anyway, like towards the end of the class, everyone, including the teacher, started getting really frustrated with him. And he's doing this scene with this girl. And I forget what the prompt was. But anyway, like dad was almost home. And so they had to get the house ready for dad. And I think they had decided that it was like dad's birthday or something. Anyway, they had to get the house ready because dad was almost home. And he just kept saying like, well, dad will be here soon. And dad doesn't like this. And dad does this. And dad. He just, every single sentence he said was about dad. And so Tony, who is currently on The Righteous Gemstones, if you watch that show. But anyway, Tony Cavallaro was our teacher, and he's a friend of mine. And he stopped the scene, which is rare. Like, teachers never stop the scene. And he was like, okay, guys, I have to stop you. He was like, this is really frustrating. It's hard to watch. Stop making the scene all about dad. Move on from dad. Stop talking about dad. And then he gave him other notes. But then the main note of the scene was stop talking about dad. And then he was like, okay, we're going to pick up where we left off, go back into the scene and action. And I'm not even kidding you. This kid goes, we have to hurry up. We have to make this all about dad. Everyone in the class screamed and started laughing. And like, I feel bad because he was
comic gold. Like
comic
honestly,
gold because he was so sincere.
Won. Yeah, maybe he won the comedy game.
And like, he wasn't trying to be a dick. He wasn't trying to be funny. Literally, his improv brain said, this is my line. We have to make this all about dad. And we all lost it. And like I said, I feel bad because we were laughing at him and not really with him. But it was such a funny moment. And I got out of class and instantly told Rob because he got one note that was like, stop making this all about dad. And then his first line was, we got to make this all about dad.
For him to articulate it, not even just to continue making it all about dad, for him to actually make it an imperative that we must do this thing now.
Right, to actually say the sentence.
Like
we got to make this all about dad.
Declare it out loud. It's just, that's so good. That is like, it's like that SNL bit where like they're playing Password and like the word is cigar.
Oh, with Kristen Wiig.
And Kristen Wiig is the old lady actress or old timey actress, just goes, cigar. Oh, like just like heart, like the first word out of her mouth is the word, and she's just like, so yeah, it just felt like we have to make this all about dad.
Yeah. And you would be surprised how many situations you observe or you are in where that line and that story just is so fitting. Yeah. And so we say all the time, like,
we have to make this all about dad.
This podcast, we got to stop being so dark. We got to make this all about dad.
Yeah, we got to make this all about dad. Now let's get darker. You know, it's like those, it's just like,
well, speaking of dark, it's not that dark. Rob and I got exciting concert tickets to go see Nine Inch Nails for my birthday. Yeah. I'm very excited. They were the most expensive concert tickets I've personally ever purchased, I think, together.
Yeah, I think per ticket they are the most.
They were so more expensive than our Arctic Monkeys tickets at the bowl, right?
Yeah, because seriously, Arctic Monkeys was less than that per ticket, and overall it was more. But we bought more tickets. Yeah. But and then I guess comparatively to like Coachella post fees, maybe, but that's a 3-day festival, and also, well, like I went to Coachella, 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, I think my last Lollapalooza ticket, Kendra, if you're listening, you can correct me, but I think our last Lollapalooza ticket was $150 for 3 days.
Well, I think my last Coachella ticket was probably like $270 or $300, but it was still when they gave you 3 paper tickets. So if you didn't want to go to a day, you could sell your ticket because you weren't wearing a wristband.
Yeah, it was before the wristbands.
So they also sold individual days, but the individual days sold out like instantly. So it was just easiest to get a 3-day pass and then just sell the tickets for the days you couldn't use.
Yeah, I love Nine Inch Nails. I was surprised how many people wanted these tickets because just the waiting room to get into the line on Ticketmaster, I was like almost 5,000. Rob was 7,000.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
So we just gave up on his account.
And seriously, because like you also got like, luckily you were doing pretty good. Like, it just seemed like you were going to be all right. And then you got, as soon as you got tickets available, it was in a spot you wanted to be. It was like, okay, great, let's go.
Well, so the only reason I knew is because he's playing Climate Pledge, which is where we saw the Kraken, and I knew that I loved our seats for Kraken. So I knew the section, I knew we were sitting. Luckily, that section was open. So once I cleared the queue and I was in the room to buy tickets, they were going so fast, right? And so I pretty much just clicked on 2, saw the price, and I was like, okay, that's our max price, sold. And then after I chose them, all the seats were gone. So I had to buy the tickets I selected. They added $100 per ticket in fees.
Which is that, yeah.
Which was 50% the cost of the tickets.
That's
the
crazy.
tickets were $200 a piece, and then they added another $100, so they became $300.
Yeah. So I guess like they're officially cheaper than the Arctic Monkeys tickets, but like post fees they're not.
Which
is
this
dumb.
is the first modern crazy ticket price that we've had to deal with, because like when we saw Atlantis last year for my birthday, luckily those tickets were free.
Yeah, well, and we in general we just go to so few concerts just because everybody's so annoying at them,
and that's honestly how we justified the price, because like we could go to $500 concerts in a year, or we could go to one $500 concert.
One big one.
It's like pretty much the same thing. So.
But yeah, and at least it's not like we're going ham and we're spending like $2,300 a ticket for front row or anything.
But like just adding to the chorus, F you Ticketmaster,
Right.
You have ruined the world.
Yeah. Well, and have you ever seen Nine Inch Nails live before?
Yes.
Just a festival
no? So this is what I'm gonna say. So I've seen Nine Inch Nails 3 times. One time at an actual like tour concert, but we were insanely late and we missed the like first 2 or 3 songs. Like we missed the opener, and then we missed like the first 2 or 3 songs.
Wow.
So we came in super late, and then the other 2 were Lollapalooza festival shows. So which were amazing, but they were 40 minutes, I think.
Yeah. Well, festival sets, they're always they're great, but they are not a show.
Yeah.
Typically, or at least like now I think we're starting to see some like regular length for like headliners, but not very common.
Yeah. So this will be, knock on wood, but this will be my first official like arrived, ready to go Nine Inch Nails concert where hopefully, again, knock on wood, everything goes swimmingly.
And plus we're old. We have seats.
It's at Climate Pledge, which is very close to our house. We can take an Uber there. It won't be expensive.
Yeah.
We know that because we've gone to see the Kraken, we know how it's going to be. It's in August. The weather will be great. So even if we have to wait for an Uber afterwards, it probably won't be raining and we can just stand outside.
Okay. Well, I'm not worried about like the weather on the day.
No, because remember after the Kraken game, it was raining and we got out and like the city was shut down.
We're getting like splitting hairs into details here.
No, that's what I'm saying. Every Nine Inch Nails show I've had has not been perfect. I'm describing. It's storytelling, Rob. I'm describing to the listeners how I'm excited about how this experience is going to be good.
Well, I'm just saying, like, yes, there's a lot of conveniences, but like, as long as it's not raining fire, I think we'll be fine.
Well, great. Now it's going to do that.
Hey, I'm a witch. No, it's funny because I think this is only my second time seeing Nine Inch Nails live, probably.
And I mean, he hasn't released a new album recently at all, and it's only been scores and movie soundtracks. So.
Yeah, I think last time. I think it was at the With Teeth tour at the Bowl, which, it's fine. I like the Hollywood Bowl. I don't love the Hollywood Bowl. It's a good experience to like hang out, have wine and cheese.
It depends where your seats are and it depends who you're seeing.
Right, yeah. And it's a fun experience kind of place. Like I'm so glad I got to see The Simpsons at the Bowl, but that was like projections and live performers and like just, it was like they did all sorts of kind of weird stuff using the space.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, but like a rock band, even like I remember like seeing Air with a full symphony at the Bowl. That should have been so cool. And it was just like, I don't know, they needed to like turn up the volume on everything. Yeah. Instead, it was just kind of like, what?
It's funny because like the Hollywood Bowl is my favorite venue on the planet. But again, it's very specific. But like, I saw Robin there. I saw Chemical Brothers. I
think I've seen
a lot of like classical stuff.
Because I feel like I've seen Royksop, and there was another like big electronic group I saw there. So I've seen like big, banging kind of club shows.
We saw Vampire Weekend in Beirut there.
Man, I hated that show, but they're just not my bands.
Yeah.
I was there as support for everyone else.
We saw, what's the band that uses legs under their keyboards?
Chromeo.
We saw Chromeo there. Been to the 4th of July celebration many times, which is always fun.
But it's funny because between those the two venues like that in LA, I prefer the Greek. But also the Greek is a little bit more of like you're there to see a show, like you're there to see a band.
It's also harder to get to.
It is, but it's also smaller and just kind of everything about it's a little bit more my. It's a little bit more like focused on the music and less about the picnic,
Yes.
So, like for outdoor venues, that's
I saw Dolly Parton at the Bowl. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I bought some Dolly Parton merch. I bought a T-shirt that was yellow, but it was like unisex. But when I bought it, the girl was like, "That's a girl's color," and I was just like, "Do you know where you are? It's Dolly Parton at the Hollywood Bowl. I don't think there are any heterosexual people in the building."
It's funny, like when I saw Blonde Redhead for their 23 tour, like 5 times for that tour, I bought an actual like lavender girls T-shirt, just the largest size they had, and I wore that thing until it shrank to the point where like the sleeves were like too obviously a girl's baby tee. But I was like, shit, because I was so small then, and that I could actually wear like a girl's large.
Well, that's a
T-shirt.
little privilege.
Man, I loved that shirt because it was like this really like very, very light like lavender purple with the 4-legged lady.
What band?
Blonde Redhead.
Oh. Yeah, that's a little privilege. You can literally shop in any clothing section.
My Kenna hoodie is a girl's large.
You can also make larger things smaller, but I can't make smaller things larger. You can get things altered. It can be done.
You just got to add leaves to it, like a table.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So just buy 2 and sew them together.
Well, or just, you can have like a new pattern, kind of like wings.
Right.
Kind of so it opens up like you're trying to intimidate a mountain lion.
Oh, yeah. Or I'm going to spit toxic acid at you in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. It's a defense mechanism. And honestly, I wish I had something to make people stay away from me in public.
Well, I mean, I never want to make myself bigger. I should say I never need to make myself bigger. I'm always the biggest. So I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Especially for someone that's little.
Well, what I need to start carrying around is a fan and a Bjork style like backpack leaf outfit like she did for her live shows. Where like, cause yeah, she would do her thing like wearing her dress and all that, but like she had like a thing attached to her back that would come undone, and it was these huge leaves that would blow out toward the camera or toward the crowd because she had a fan behind her, so she was just enveloped in this huge blowing thing. I just need to do that.
Missy Elliott does that too. She loves an inflatable, big airy thing that can make her bigger.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you're the same size as Missy Elliott, so that tracks.
Probably.
Little people just trying to make themselves bigger. But I got to tell you, grass is always greener because once you're up here, it's not that fun.
Yeah.
I hit my head a lot. I don't fit on airplanes. You'll see.
Yeah.
Some other good news that I wanted to talk about that was very exciting. If you follow me on socials, you'll know that I was quite frustrated this week with doctors and prescriptions and the medical industry at large. But I actually found out I got approved for the medication I've been wanting to take. I'm going to start taking Zepbound, which I've had a lot of friends take. It's in the Ozempic family. But I'm super excited to start this journey this week, and I'm so glad that something actually worked out for once. When does that ever happen?
Well, it's funny. I always want to be like, we should not be talking about this until it's in hand, just because Well, now I'm always trying to make the podcast a good length for people to listen to, so I can talk about it now. And then if it doesn't happen next week, we have more stuff to talk about. Oh, then we have sob stories now.
Yeah, I'm thinking ahead.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm super excited to try it. I feel like I've heard nothing but success stories from people. So if you're trying it, if you're on it right now, let me know. I'm excited to start figuring out what's good, what's good to eat, what's bad to eat, what's your mood like, where do you like to go, what are good hacks.
Okay, let me know if there's any sort of weird mood red flags I need to know about.
Yeah, am I going to turn into a giant red panda at 8 o'clock every night? Does Rob have to corral me?
Is he going to wake up in the middle of the night, go upstairs, and start just eating cigarettes in 30 Rock?
I don't. I hope it's not
sleep
Ambien.
crime.
Yeah, Ambien sleep crime. Well, luckily you fall asleep on the sofa every night and then join me in bed after I'm long asleep. So you will be able to monitor.
Kind of. It's like there's a little bit of accountability there, but like if you escape out a window or something, I'm not going to know it.
Yeah. I'm just excited that I finally got cleared. I had to do the pre-authorization process, but they finally approved it. But I'm just glad that I finally got cleared to take this medication because they added sleep apnea as a, what are they called?
A diagnosis?
No,
symptom?
Comorbidity.
Oh.
It's like what we went through when we were trying to get vaccines for COVID.
Yes.
But anyway, they added sleep apnea as a treatment, and that's what finally cleared me to be able to take this medication.
Yeah, because you were diagnosed with that already, and you did not do especially well with a CPAP.
Which was awful. Like, it did not work for me. But then once I had my septoplasty, it just totally opened my sinuses. And, like, I still snore. I still have trouble with sleep apnea, but it's way better than it used to be. But CPAP did not work on me.
No, it's so funny because
everybody's like, you'll get used to it. And I did it for 90 days. And
everyone always talks about it being like a life changer. And yet I've never seen somebody be so incompatible and like you fought it. It was like watching somebody try to ride a bike, but like breathing.
Well, and like it's connected to the internet. So they can monitor when you're using it. And so via my insurance, I had to use it like 2 hours a night minimum or something.
Yeah, there was a required usage like per week and per night.
The only way it worked for me is I would lay in bed, put it on, stare at the ceiling for 2 hours, and then take it off.
Sort of choke.
Yeah. Or I would, they didn't like monitor what time of day you were wearing it. It was just how many hours per day you used it. So if I had free time at like noon, I would just come downstairs, put it on, and watch TV for 2 hours just to get my time in.
Like you were trying to make it work.
Yeah, no, I tried.
This is not a thing where you were just literally, trying to keep that thing on your bedside for no reason.
Yeah. No. I actually tried. I actually traveled with it.
But you make it sound like,
I took it to Missouri.
Well, I just like, it's like I wore it running. It's like, well, okay. Like you're not trying to sleep with it anymore.
I actually tried and I put in the work and yeah, I traveled with it. I took it to Missouri. Like I took it to Kendra's house and my parents' house and stuff. And I tried. It just did not work for me. But luckily now I can try Zepbound. Also, it's not like official part of the treatment plan, but they're saying that these medications now help with dementia and Alzheimer's, which runs in my family. So I'm really excited. I'm excited all around for this. Nobody's going to bring me down. I'm very happy about it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's some good news in the darkness. Right,
yes.
Eeyore?
What? You're happy. Like you talked about it. I'm excited for you. Like I'm not going to do a backflip. I will leave frame.
What are you excited about this week?
Not much.
All right then.
Like honestly, it's like this is fine. I got a small stupid thing that I'm excited about. Literally, Warner Archives is a small, it's Warner Brothers doing small batch kind of Blu-ray pressings of, not huge success movies, kind of interesting catalog releases. Mm-hmm. They just released, I think it was this last week, and it's finally arriving next week. It's a movie that I remember like watching on HBO 1,000 years ago when I was a kid, and it just kind of became one of those comfort movies. It's called Daffy Duck's Quackbusters. It's an 80-minute feature-length movie that assembles like 7 or 8 classic Looney Tune cartoons, most of them monster themed, but it creates a meta narrative to string them all together. And so it lops off the intros and outros of most of those cartoons to sort of establish a reason for them to exist in this grander story. So basically it's a Looney Tunes clip movie.
I feel like I remember that.
And it's kind of great. It's basically, what Daffy Duck inherits a bunch of money from J.P. Cubish after he dies, and he starts a ghost hunting business because he's upset that J.P. Cubish wants him to use his money for good, and he's taking it from beyond the grave. And so Daffy, instead of doing the right thing, decides he's going to start a ghost hunting business because that's the right solution to stop this ghost from taking his money. And then they string together a whole bunch of stuff. It includes like the classic, like where Bugs Bunny gives the haircut to the giant monster with the red hair, whose name is eluding me now. But if my stars, if an interesting monster can have an interesting hairdo, then I don't know what this world is coming to. So yeah, I mean it's a classic. I'm excited about that.
I always want to call that monster Sweetums, but that's
that's a Muppet.
That's a Muppet.
Yep. Because I almost did the same.
I want to go to Hollywood.
But yeah, so there's that.
Well, that's good.
I'm
That's
excited
something.
about that. It's something.
Last night we watched Airplane 2, which was really fun.
Seriously, like that movie is kind
Small
of
victories, Robert.
it's unfairly besmirched. I mean,
That's what I was going to say. Everyone was like, oh, because we had just watched the first one with his mom, and everybody's like, oh, the second one gets shit on a lot. It's not that good. And then we watched it, and I was like,
it's pretty funny.
It picked up where the first one left
It's
off.
still, I mean, it's not as good as the first, but like nothing could be.
Yeah, but
it's
like,
still really damn
the
funny.
jokes are there, and everybody fell in line.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Seriously, Airplane 2 was funny.
And I love that they, ended it by saying coming soon, Airplane 3, and then they never made Airplane 3, which is funny. I love that joke.
Right. Well, and seriously, and William Shatner was especially like well used as the sort of replacement for Robert Stack in this one. Like it was fun.
Good
So yeah,
stuff.
good times.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, at least when I watched a movie recently, it was also kind of fun. I watched not Japanese. It was a Korean movie called Sleep from
Korea.
2022, 2023.
Time.
Stars a woman whose name I've lost, but also she had a really famous role that I can't remember either. But the secondary lead is the guy who plays the rich husband in Parasite. So yeah, it was fun. Did some cool horror stuff with somnambulism.
I did not watch it because I watched the trailer.
It's one of his icks.
Rob does this now, which I really like. He will send me the trailer of a movie you've never heard of and be like, do you want to watch this? And then I will watch the trailer and then let him know yes or no. And I think that's the best way to do it because I watched the trailer and I saw that it was all about like sleep paralysis and sleep demons and all this shit that happens in sleep, which is one of my biggest icks, but also like biggest fears. I don't like when people can't control themselves. It's because, like I said, dementia and Alzheimer's runs in my family, and my biggest thing is like my biggest fear is losing control of my own brain and thoughts and stuff. So the sleep, I already have problems with sleep, as we've just discussed. So any kind of movie that's about sleep, I'm like, hard pass. Well, I don't like that.
It is funny.
I'm already afraid of the dark.
Because also, like, I have, walked, not since we've been together, but I have sleepwalked in the past. I talk, I laugh.
You talk a lot.
I've sobbed in my sleep and woken him up. But yeah, I talk a lot in my sleep. So yeah, I know, like, I'm an entertaining and very active sleeper. So my apologies for that, because I know it's definitely creepy at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and especially like I've become that person of like with the movie. If I feel I'm interested, I probably don't want to see the trailer because if it's available to me, I'm just gonna watch it. Like,
yeah.
It's 90 minutes. Fine, let's just put it on. Don't give me. I'm not gonna burn that 2 minutes. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And I want to be surprised because there was some movie. Oh, we watched Revenge from the woman that directed The Substance, and I hadn't even seen the trailer. I was just like, well, it's from her, and I'm excited. Like the end. Let's go see it.
And that one I actually stopped watching the trailer because I was like, wait, I'm in. We're gonna watch this.
Yeah.
I don't need to see the rest of the trailer.
But it was funny because like when the movie had like a moment in it after it was done, I looked at Todd and I was like, was that in the trailer? And he goes, that's when I stopped watching the trailer. And I was like, okay, so it was there. Like, I'm glad I didn't know because I was surprised by like everything.
Well,
in
and
it,
then we
cool.
went back and watched the trailer together after the movie, and the trailer spoiled the movie.
Yeah,
you don't know it's a spoiler till you watch it, but like the trailer spoils the movie. So I'm glad, because I'm one of those people too, be like, wait a minute, this scene hasn't happened yet, and that scene was in the trailer.
Yeah.
When is this going to happen? Like my brain just thinks that during movies.
If you have that kind of a brain that's very sticky for little details, then you want to reassemble in your head anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so. Anywho,
well, like we were saying,
so I usually that's why I shoot trailers to you because like I'm not even gonna watch the trailer. Like you just tell me if you're interested or not.
Yeah, but sadly, the world is back to where we have to find small joys every day, or otherwise we're gonna fall apart. So,
and mine are apparently very upsetting horror movies.
But you know what? It brings you joy,
right?
And that's
honestly,
all that matters.
Like fantasy scary is better than real scary at times.
Yeah,
and I'm still. I want to say slogging because I'm enjoying it. I'm just reading it very slowly. Still getting through 100 Years of Solitude.
Yep.
Looking forward to watching that Netflix show once I am done.
And it is a show, right? We talked about that. It's not a movie.
One season is up, and the second season, I believe, will be the conclusion.
Oh, great. Well, that's your homework for the week is find small joys.
Right.
Everyone.
Seriously.
Find small joys.
Yeah. Well, it's like a quote from Twin Peaks. Yeah. You have to like give yourself a small treat. It can be a nap in your chair. It can be a second cup of coffee. It can be whatever. Just find it an opportunity throughout the day to give yourself a small treat, and you don't have to plan for it. Just do it.
Well, my small treat is going to be the final segment of the show, which is What's Your Order? What's Your Order? Is it my turn to pick?
It is.
Is that why you took it out of my hands?
I grab it.
All right. Well, this is our final segment. If you've never listened to our show or watched the podcast on YouTube before,
welcome.
I have a box here with just a bunch of stuff. It used to be restaurants, but we went through every restaurant known to man, so we can no longer say what our actual food order is. But now it's just filled with stuff. And we've done what? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite TV show? Last week was cereal.
Yeah.
So let's see what this week's What's Your Order is. May I, sir? Ha! Ah! This week's What's Your Order is favorite author.
Ooh.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, that is fun.
We are well-read. Rob's more well-read than myself.
Well, I do my best. I've worked in bookstores since I was, or rather, I started my first job was at a bookstore when I was 16. So, and I worked at a Walden Books through that. And then while I was in college, I worked at the Virgin Megastore in a bookstore or book department. And then I worked at Book Soup on Sunset Boulevard. So me and books have a long relationship, and I've been able to read for a long time.
Yeah, and I had friends, so I didn't really have a lot of reading to do.
Yeah. My friends were in the books.
But I do love to read, and I definitely have favorite authors. Should I go first? Because
Sure.
I think mine's going to be shorter.
No, go for it.
Although I love the point of this segment is to pick one thing. And
Honestly,
you know me, I'm always like top three.
The honorable mentions are kind of nice. It's hard to just be like the one, because
Yeah.
I got a favorite book, but I also have a different favorite author.
Yeah. So I would say that I have two.
Okay.
And I'm pretty confident in keeping it at two. Oh shit, maybe it's three. Okay, we're gonna do three.
Go for it.
So my favorite kooky, crazy, weirdo author is Chuck Palahniuk.
Yes.
Who I'm currently reading his current book we've talked about, Shock Induction. It's a very hard read. It's weird, but I'm getting through it. He's an odd man, but he's the writer of Fight Club. Has anything else been made into a movie?
Choke.
Oh yeah, Choke. But
What else? Wasn't there another one?
I don't know.
I mean,
But
Survivor's my favorite of his and Lullaby, but
I
those
got
haven't
really into
been
his
made yet.
books 20 years ago when I lived in New York. 22 years ago, Jesus.
Right.
And that's when I discovered all of his books. But I would say Chuck Palahniuk is my favorite fiction, but mystery thriller, just weirdo kind of books.
Right.
But then my other favorite author is David Sedaris.
And he's a gay Pacific Northwesterner. Gotta love that.
And then, oh my God, all my authors are gay. My other favorite author is David Sedaris, who is one of the funniest people on the entire planet. And we got to meet him one night.
He was so funny.
He was so funny and so sweet.
He was everything that you think he'll be in person.
A friend of mine was opening for him before a reading he did at UCLA. And so we got to hang out in his dressing room and talk to him before and after the show. And he signed our stuff. And it was just, he was a dream. He was everything you think he's going to be hanging out.
And he's my size.
Yeah. He's Rob's size. He's teeny tiny
Yeah.
and just so funny. And all of his books just really speak to me. Every single story, essay he's written, it's just always, I've found a place to assign it in my life. So I just love the man so much. Calypso, I think, is my favorite, most recent book. The story, I scream laugh at that book. That book is so funny. Just his stories with his sisters. Such a funny man. And then
Let's say of his, I find the one I go back to the most is the audiobook of Bloodwork. Which is a weird story. It's where he gets mistaken as a erotic house cleaner for a man who wants him to insert a suppository if he doesn't wake up in 20 minutes. It's weird. It is a weird story. And of course, I love his audiobooks because him reading them is just
so
part of
funny.
the experience.
Yeah.
And of course, if you've been reading him enough, you can read it in his voice, but it's just nice to have it actually happen. Anyway, sorry, continue.
So yeah, those are my two favorite prolific constant authors. And then my third is kind of an overarching, almost classic author, which is James Baldwin. I love that man so much. He's a gay icon, ancestor, elder who did so much, not only for gay people, but for black people. Honestly, I should just finish my James Baldwin collection this month in honor of Black History Month because he's such an iconic, beautiful man. And all of his writing is so poetic and we need it as a society. He was such a strong pillar of the world. So those are my three: Chuck Palahniuk, David Sedaris, and James Baldwin. And I'm happy with those choices. And yes, they are all gay men.
That's right. And I'm trying to think because I feel like I could go in all sorts of directions here, but I think I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can. And I'm going to go with probably my favorite author overall is actually probably just my favorite storyteller. sometimes he's not the best writer, but seriously, no one can weave a story like he can, and it's Stephen King. He's prolific. He's everywhere, and
that's what I figured.
And to read his stuff is a crazy adventure. I haven't read some of his most classic stuff, which I still need to do, but like it's crazy. His books have absolutely devastated me. They've riveted me. They've scared me, and like. It's funny because like the one I always talk about is like I feel like one of the most perfect stories he's done is Needful Things, which the movie's kind of a mess. It's also a great fun, but the book is one of those things. It's such a good web that he weaves so carefully across like 600 pages, and it was actually the first book of his I ever read as a middle schooler.
Yeah,
and it was incredible.
It's funny because I was going to say Stephen King, but then I realized I've only read one Stephen King book, and it was a Richard Bachman book. It wasn't even Stephen King.
Oh yeah, The Regulators.
And
right?
then I've listened to two books. I listened to The Shining in high school audiobook, and then I listened to a lot of it with you when we drove up here when we moved.
Yeah.
So like that, when it comes to the actual books, that's all I've taken in. Everything else has been movies and TV shows, which I've watched all of, and I love him very much, and I've consumed all of it. But like, I don't know, I feel weird saying he's my favorite author when I've only actually read one book by him.
Yeah. Well, and seriously, like he's such a great, he has such a cool way about the stories he tells, and they just kind of work. And so, yeah, love him for that. And like almost named, like back in the day, almost named my dog after a character from The Dark Tower. Like just like all sorts. He's just, he's
the
everywhere.
Crazy Murderous Train.
No, I was going to name him after Jake Chambers, who was in the movie, but I didn't want to name him after a somewhat maybe doomed character who's doomed in many worlds.
Which dog were you going to name Jake?
It was before I got Braddock.
Oh, you just pre-selected a name.
I was thinking because like it felt like a good name, but like there was another name that was a little bit more because like there is a character named Oi that is an actual like quadruped pet, but Oi was a little out there for me for a dog.
Hey, I get it. I have multiple pre-selected names for human children that we're never going to have,
right?
Or dogs.
I still have all sorts of dog names in reserve.
I still want to name a dog Pickles Von Mustard Seed, but
that's disgusting, and you're not doing it.
It's everything you hate.
Yeah, and the only reason why you want to do that is literally just to annoy me. It'd be one thing if you actually wanted to name an animal
with malice.
No, it'd be one thing if you wanted to name an animal that you want to name an animal that to annoy me.
Yeah.
So no,
I stumbled upon it because it was a joke, and then I was like, wait a minute, that's a hilarious name for a dog.
Which is funny because literally I think my friend Jay has been joking around about naming a dog Pickles on Mustard Seed before we met even.
Yeah,
like it's just one of those things of like, oh, those things that Rob hates. And it makes a name that's fun to say. Let's do it. So actually I do have another author that's sneaking in the last second because I was not really aware of them until like aware of them as a writer. I obviously knew who they were and I knew they wrote. I just hadn't read them. Clive Barker. Like I totally forgot.
Yeah, you just read all of his stuff.
Seriously, I devoured the Books of Blood, Hellbound Heart.
Another gay man.
Right? Yeah, and I even read one of his books of erotica. Like he is insane, and like it's funny because as much as Stephen King tells a very, very functional story that is like very good to follow, like easy to follow, and he writes a very like consumable story. Clive Barker writes often high concept, absolutely just what the fuck kind of stuff, and it just some of it is kind of weird and doesn't land. Some of it is in my bones now. Like it is weird, and like some of the stuff, like I can't even describe how much it makes me uncomfortable because it's just one of those things that kind of just gets to you. And it may get to me and it won't get to anybody else. But like the Books of Blood especially are like, it's such a weird acupuncture test of horror because it kind of approaches all sorts of different pressure points on you across all these stories. And some of them land, some of them don't. But like, it was amazing. Like there was a couple where as I was reading them, I was like, this is unlike anything I've ever read before. And I cannot like fathom anyone else writing this.
Well, you're weird, and so it's very fitting. It's weird likes weird. It's like it's a magnet.
So yeah, like it's funny because I'd forgotten because I haven't read any of his stuff super recently, but in the like last couple of years, I've read a lot of his stuff, and it's been very good.
Well, it's funny. I like visual gore. I don't really have a problem with, but sometimes Rob will start describing gore to me from something he just read, and I'm like, you have to stop telling me about the gore that you read. And he'll be like, no, but then the guy's head was ripped off and then he sucked his eyeballs out. And I was like, you have to stop telling the story. I don't want to hear anymore.
It's funny because I realize sometimes like as it's happening in the book or movie, it actually has like a comedic effect, but the more I describe it, the less that it's happening, and it just sounds awful.
And like, I don't have a problem seeing it in a movie because it's like part of the plot, and like I can say it's bad or cheesy and it might gross me out, but it doesn't affect me the way it does when Rob's describing gore he just read.
Well, it's the same thing of like, the problem
I'm eating breakfast.
Right. It's the same as that thing of like the movie Human Centipede. Hearing what it's about is worse because you are envisioning it than anything the movie's going to show you. Yeah. Just the concept itself is horrific. And then, so those are probably my two favorite authors, I would say, right now. And then my favorite book, though, is Geek Love by Catherine Dunn.
I thought you were going to say Catherine Dunn.
Yeah, well, it's funny. The more I read of her, the less I realize that I don't necessarily love all of her output. Her output is actually really interesting but very challenging for me as a reader.
Yeah.
I've read Toad, which just recently came out. That's a posthumous release of hers, of a sort of unfinished manuscript, or I guess it was finished and just kind of shelved. So I read that, and I've read Attic. So I need to read Truck, and I think that's like all of her fiction, basically, aside from Geek Love. I've listened to her audiobook about cussing, which was super fun. Like taught me actually some new phrases, catastrophuck among them, and like she wrote a bunch of like essays about boxing, but I don't think I'm going to read those because I don't know if I care about boxing that much.
Yeah,
but
but maybe she could make you care.
It's possible, like seriously. But yeah, Geek Love is. Seriously, it is a book that is hard to recommend. Forgive me if people find this off-putting, because seriously, usually when I start to give a description of the plot, some people are like, tell me more, or they're like, you have to stop now. But basically, yeah, it's a story about two normal people who work at a
freak show, right?
Yeah, they basically work at a freak show.
And it's set in the 20s, right?
I'm trying to think when it starts, because it takes place like basically now, but so much of it is covered in the past to get up to now, because it's told in retrospect. But I'm trying to think, it must be like the 40s or 50s, I think. And but basically, like these totally kind of standard issue humans want to create a family of freaks. So while they are pregnant, they do everything they can to actually create birth defects to create a family of freaks. And it's about their family and kind of the cult-like following that they get, and just kind of in just how crazy everything gets out of control. Basically, every kind of page feels like every page turn feels like a noose tightening for a while, until it just can't handle it itself anymore. After I was done reading it, I was like, I don't know who I can give this to except for like my sister. She was the only person that I could imagine foisting that book on. And she called me after she finished reading it because she was sobbing on a plane because of it. And then she made her fiance read it. And so at least like there's a handful of people that I've kind of like made read this or encouraged to read it, and they've all recognized that it is impossible to recommend.
Well,
but
and I listened to half the audiobook, and that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because of you. And then I never finished the audiobook. And I want to. I liked the story.
You didn't even get to the good stuff yet. It's the tension is only starting to build. But yeah, it's a very beautiful but also very grotesque book. And it's funny because like as a former big Chuck Palahniuk reader, a lot of people were like, well, have you read Catherine Dunn? Because she's also from Portland. And a lot of like her writing is kind of, I think, been considered almost a precursor to his. But it's crazy. Like Geek Love came out in like 1988. And it reads like a book that was written today. It is like, it goes for the throat. It is crazy. It is just one of the, like, it's a book that it's, if you had to read the book and then imagine who wrote it, and the time period in which it was written, you would probably make some weird guesses.
Yeah. Well, and I think people know you well enough now to know that if you recommend something, it's going to be weird.
Yeah,
like, you're not going to be like, you should read Harry Potter or something.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest something that's a little left of center, and probably something that is an acquired taste.
My weird little man.
Well, seriously, one of my favorite agitating movies was the movie on Framed a couple days ago, which is one of the daily games we play, which was Mother, the Darren Aronofsky movie. Don't recommend it to anybody, really. I love it. Don't recommend it. You
know how, if you listened last week, we described Amelia Perez, there's that song that they cut out all the breathing, so it just feels like it's 2 minutes of nonstop talking without breaths. That's what Mother feels like for an hour and a half.
Well, I always describe the last act as a slip and slide into hell.
There's no breathing. You can't catch your breath. It's uncomfortable. Did we see it in the theater?
We did.
Yeah.
And like, seriously, it is like a roller coaster. The last act, just hang on. Yeah. Like, you cannot breathe. It's crazy.
And it will scar you for life.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob.
Sorry.
Well,
No, yeah. So you should have gone second on the book stuff because seriously, all my books were dark and weird.
Well, I mean, we're going to go watch the Grammys now, and hopefully we're going to get some surprise performances, maybe a Taylor Swift TV announcement. Everybody's saying she's going to announce Reputation today. So.
Wait, okay. So I haven't been following most of the nominees. Is Dula Peep nominated for anything?
I think she and Ariana Grande both got ignored.
No, because I wanted her to perform.
But she might be. I don't know who's performing exactly. Well, I just assume that all the nominees will.
Right.
So
I imagine they're not going to have a non-nominee perform.
I'm pretty sure Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan is definitely. I don't think Taylor is. I think Taylor's presenting. I don't think she is performing. I don't know. I don't think Beyonce's performing. I think Billie Eilish is performing. So I don't know. We shall see. I only watch the Grammys for the performances. I rarely even watch the awards.
And I will likely be reading and then occasionally looking up for performances.
Reading the dresses. Be like, oh, honey.
These
white?
bitches. Oh. Where's my shade button? I don't have
a
it.
white gown at her age. She's on her third marriage, you know. It's after Labor Day. But yeah, so let's go watch the Grammys, have some dinner. Oh, what are we going to have for dinner? We had special dinner on Friday, which is Domino's.
Oh, it was so good.
Because we were like, you want to just pig out and be gross? Let's get Domino's at 3 p.m. We were like, let's do it early so we don't have all that salt in our system when we go to bed. But yeah, we already had our like big gross meal for the weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just snack maybe I'll have some Pop-Tarts and popcorn. Anything with pop in the title.
Yeah, I was like, you make it sound like, well, now that we had that, I have to have like rice cakes and steam.
And steam.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
mineral water and parsley.
We'll just listen to some chanting.
Oh, I'm making soup.
Oh, that's right. You got to make good soup.
We made plans and I totally forgot. I'm making soup tonight.
Oh, yeah. Rob's favorite soup to make, Zuppa Toscana from Olive Garden.
Seriously, the Zuppa Toscana dupe. It's so good.
Because we can be family at home, thank you.
Right? Seriously, I can be family and not put on hard pants.
And we have breadsticks from Costco. Oh my God, dinner's going to be so good. Poof, our heads explode. Well, what was that?
That was applause.
Okay, good job. Is that what you wanted?
I did. I was actually going for that instead of the rim shot. So.
Okay, good. Whoa. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We've got a very exciting Sunday evening planned.
Seriously, I got to start chopping some onions and
we need to up the kitchen.
Oh, we need to get the food processor out. Potato slicing. Those potatoes.
Damn it.
Or you can slice them.
Why would I do that? All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and for watching and liking and subscribing and commenting and all that good stuff. We hope you guys are having a great time out there. Don't forget your homework assignment. Find some joy in something, even if it's a Snickers bar.
Or even if it's horrifically grotesque material that just makes you feel a little nicer.
Like Geek Love.
Or like anything I'm into, I guess.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.